Thank you, everybody, for joining us today to learn about KellyComplete. My name is Mark Doherty. I'm the head of the Distributed Generation Division here at Kelly Generator and Equipment. And I just want to kick this off by thanking everybody for coming and to explain the whole purpose behind this offering that we've developed mainly for our existing clients, but we've found huge interest from new potential clients as well. The concept is that there's a lot of drivers in the energy industry today, and you're going to learn about a bunch of those today. Customers are very interested in saving money on energy. We keep seeing, there was an article today, another utility trying to raise electric rates by 7%. People are starting to feel, they were feeling for years that they could control their electric rates through efficiency and third-party supply contracting, but that seems to be getting more and more difficult when utilities start to raise rates 7% at one time. People are also very concerned with more and more storms that we're having power reliability issues and aging infrastructure, and we'll go into that more detail in the utility industry. And there's a big move toward renewable energy and being green, meeting corporate goals for carbon reduction, et cetera. So we sat back and thought about, well, what's best for our customers? Most of Kelly's customers are very focused on power reliability, which is why they do business with us. Some of them don't have the money, though, to buy a generator or to buy full-time power on site. And some also have green goals that they're trying to achieve. So we tried to figure out a way to mash this all together. And this is the offering we've developed, and it's highly successful. It's a way to earn money, save money, while getting power reliability and being green and having renewable energy at your site as well. So that's the key to the offering. I'm joined here today by Dave March, who's going to walk us through the slides. Dave's our head of software and energy markets. And Dave, I just want to say to the audience that, this is being recorded. Everyone's on silent. And if you have any questions, please do so through the chat feature. And Dave, if you have anything else to add around logistics of the meeting, please go ahead. Otherwise, I'm going to hand it off to you. Take away.
And I'm still going to touch on the logistics. Thanks, everybody. Welcome. As Mark mentioned, everybody's has been put on mute because we're recording this. So, you're going to love it so much you'll want to listen to it again. Also, we love questions. So please ask your questions through the chat box. I got to be specific here. The chat box, not the question and answer box, the chat box. We only monitor the chat box. And just so that everybody's aware, the chat box is public. So whatever you write is going to be seen by everybody. So in a sense, be kind. My favorite thing about Kelly is actually the tagline, because power matters. Our society, our economy can't run without power. Our customers can't run without power. And lives depend on power, reliable power. But it's not only because power matters, but it's also because you matter. The Kelly customer matters. And we do everything we can to try and make energy and power as exactly the way that you need it and that you want it. So we wanted to introduce KellyComplete, and it's three simple things. It's always on, it's always green, and you always save. Let me explain what I mean. Always on means that if the grid goes down, you keep running. That's why you have a backup generator. We're going to make sure that you never go down. So what's this always green? Well, always green means that when you are connected to the grid, we will supply you with 100% renewable energy. It's a combination of solar, wind, and hydro. So if we can deliver it, 100% of your energy will be renewable. You'll be able to say to your customers, we're a 100% green company. Always save is probably the most important. Not only do you get resiliency, you get renewable energy, it doesn't cost you anything at all. If you don't have a generator, we'll put the generator in for you, no cost. If you're currently paying 10 cents a kilowatt hour, under the KellyComplete program, you'll actually save money. Your power bill from us might be 9 cents or something like that. So KellyComplete is focused on these three things: make you green, make you resilient, and save you money. So it's really as simple as ABC. A, free on-site power generation. Essentially, it's resiliency as a service. So let's say you have an old diesel generator you'd like to replace. We'll replace it for you at no cost and provide you that resiliency. We then contract with renewable energy on a long-term basis to supply 100% of your load. So when you're connected to the grid, you know that you're doing the right thing for the climate and, most importantly, the right thing for your customers. And immediate total energy cost savings, up to 15% on average. Now think about that. No cost for a generator, 100% green or renewable energy, and we're going to save you 10 to 15% compared to what you're currently spending. That is KellyComplete. So what do you get? You get a natural gas generator for 100% of your load. If the grid goes down, you keep running. This is what Kelly was founded on and has delivered year in, year out. Reliability for our customers, the best service in the market to make sure that you can service your customers and protect your employees and clients if the grid goes down. All the grid energy is renewable, wind, solar, and hydro, and we audit it for you. So if you have a customer that says, I'd really like to see your green energy bills, we can provide that. All of this, savings and everything at no upfront cost to you. Okay, this sounds way too good to be true, okay? And I was brought up, you can't see me, so I have gray hair, but I was told there is no free lunch. This sounds too good to be true. So what is the catch? There's no catch at all. What Kelly is doing is exactly what the grid is asking us to do. Now, I'm sure all of you have seen in the news that utilities are now in states are announcing we're going to be zero carbon by 2030 or 2050 or something like that. Well, the grid does need to decarbonize. And the way it's going to decarbonize is it needs to integrate renewables. So solar, wind, and even hydro. But renewables are intermittent. Sometimes it's cloudy, sometimes the wind doesn't blow, and we might be in a drought, or we might be in a flood. So renewables tend to be intermittent, and that intermittency destabilizes the grid. And the thing that the grid has to do is try and be as reliable and stable as possible. And it can't do that without distributed local balancing services. So let's say you've got a lot of distributed solar out there and the weather changes and the clouds come in. A solar farm's output can drop as much as 70% within 30 seconds. So the grid needs sources of energy, sources of power that can step in very, very quickly and keep the grid stable. And that's exactly what KellyComplete does. What we do is we combine utility scale renewables. We're the same guys that are destabilizing the grid. We're buying that energy. But we have essentially an obligation to the grid to stabilize it so that we can use more and more of that renewable energy. So we combine utility scale renewables with your load and a natural gas backup generator to provide the grid what it needs to be stable and to decarbonize. So when the intermittent renewables change and they need more power, that generator goes on and we supply it to the grid. When the grid is up and the sun is shining, everything's wonderful, you don't need to have the grid doesn't need that support, and you just then benefit from low cost renewables. Remember, you're going to save money. Now, to do this requires a tight automated software integration with the grid. if you think about it, your facility, that generator that's going to be behind the meter, and your load is becoming an integral part of how the grid operates. And the grid then relies on us to be there to help them to stabilize the grid. So our software is constantly monitoring the grid, grid prices, your load, and providing to the grid the things that it needs. Now, nobody's going to believe me. That's fine. So let's take a case study here. This was, still is, a plastics injection molding company located in New Jersey. Their operation is 24/7. And unfortunately for them, they're located at the end of a distribution line. They do not have the greatest power quality in general. And over the last several years, they've averaged about 5 outages with as much as 12 in any single year. So they go down fairly frequently. Now, for a plastics injection molding company, that is a real problem. Because if the grid drops out and it doesn't come back within maybe a minute or two, they'll be down for multiple shifts because that plastic that is then molten in those molds starts to solidify. And they have to break down all the machines. They have to clean all the molds. They have to repolish them. It's a real problem. So they absolutely, absolutely needed to have backup generation. And their consideration was, well, let's get a nice big diesel. Well, before KellyComplete, they were spending per year about $400,000 in electricity cost. What we did was installed in this case, a 1.2 megawatt natural gas generator. It was prime power. These are ones that can run 24/7, 365, year in, year out, literally a power plant. After we finished that installation, their electricity bill, including the cost of self-generation, the total electricity bill was only $366,000. We saved them approximately $34,000 a year, made them completely resilient, and essentially eliminated the costs of outages. And we did that by essentially being able to use that backup generator to provide the grid. Essentially, we sell services to the grid to reduce peak load demand. When the grid's under stress, it really likes to see load be taken off. So we're actually able to save them money at the same time while paying for a 1.2 megawatt natural gas prime power generator. Now, I mentioned that they averaged about 5 outages a year. Each outage costs about $40,000. 2 shifts worth of down production, lost revenue, extra labor, damage to machines. So if you really then take into account that, we're saving them, close to $234,000 a year. This is exactly what KellyComplete is designed for, to keep our customers as profitable as possible, as resilient as possible, and now as green and climate focused as possible as well. Okay, so that sounds complicated. It sounds like it's going to be a problem for me. How will things change? Well, first, yeah, things will change, but they're only going to change for the better. Number one, you remain a Kelly customer, and that is the most important. We are committed to power, resiliency. We're committed to you staying running, servicing your customers and clients. You won't know that we're there unless the grid goes down, because everybody else will go dark and you'll stay running. But other than that, you don't know we're there. That generator may go on or off depending upon what the grid needs, but you'll never see anything. You won't see a flicker of your lights. You'll see absolutely nothing. Except, number 3, a lower and simpler bill. I'm sure all of you have looked at your power bills, and it's got 27 different line items, and you're charged for all kinds of stuff. We essentially step in and replace your utility, or actually we're between you and the utility. And we provide you a simple bill. It is the fixed rate. You're going to pay this much for electricity multiplied by how much electricity you use. That's it. You can do it in your head. It's very, very simple. The way power should be. No more maintenance or service costs. We essentially are supplying the generator, and essentially we own the generator. We're using it for you and providing you the resiliency as a service. It is imperative to us that it's well maintained and well serviced. And of course, Kelly is the best in the industry, hands down. But you don't have to pay the cost of maintenance and service. It's built into that lower fixed price of energy. There's no telephone calls, there's no emails, everything is automatically managed. What I mean by that is many programs where they do things like grid services and demand response, you'll get a text and it'll say, start your generator at 2 o'clock or turn down your air conditioning at 3 o'clock. None of that happens. The focus here is you run your business your way all the time and you optimize your business. We'll take care of managing essentially the energy footprint of your operation. We take care of dealing with the grid. You don't have to. So KellyComplete, again, it combines utility scale renewables, your load, and a natural gas generator to provide the grid what it needs to be stable and to help it decarbonize. But I do want to mention something here. We say it combines utility scale renewables. So this is large solar farms, large wind farms, and hydro. Many people ask, well, wouldn't it be better for me to put the solar, on my rooftop or something? Actually, no. And the reason for the no in this is that rooftop solar on your operation will cost probably 2.5 to 3 times more than you can build it in front of the meter. And in most cases, you don't have enough roof space to have enough solar to make any real difference to it either. And lastly, then we have to get into all the hassle of what's the life of the roof? What kind of shape is the roof in and everything else? It's much easier for you to focus on your business, and we'll focus on making you green, always on, and saving you money.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
This is Mark. I want to break in. We do have a question in the chat box I'd like to read to you and get your opinion on. So one of the attendees has asked, from historical data, are you able to estimate annual genset running hours to support the grid?
Yes, we can. But we look back, but then we also do forecasts forward as well. And you can tell when the grid is under stress just because of how the pricing moves in the marketplace. So if it's bouncing around, sort of up or down a little bit, it's not much. It's when something happens. So it's that hot, humid day, everybody's turning on their air conditioning, and all of a sudden they need to dispatch much lower efficiency generation because it's done what's called the merit order. And what you'll see is prices forecasting to go up because you monitor the forecasted price as well as the real price. And you're able to tell from that the load and the weather conditions when the grid is under stress and it's the right time to execute. If I didn't address your question well enough, please let me know in the chat box.
In the meantime, Dave, I have one more before you move on. And you may touch on this, but this is something that a lot of people ask. If you're going to have an engine at my site and it's going to run a lot more often than a traditional backup generator would, how's that going to impact my service and maintenance agreement costs?
So there's 2 answers to that one. The first one is the easiest, is if we own the generator, meaning, again, an example, you have an old diesel you'd like to replace, or you're expanding, you need a new backup generator. We put the generator in, we own it, we maintain it, we service it. You have no service or maintenance expense whatsoever. In the case of you own the generator, it's already a natural gas, it's already been configured to run parallel to the grid, there are two ways that we can do that. One is we can take over the service and maintenance and manage it and do all those great things. And essentially that just factors into the price. Or if you wanted to keep your maintenance and your service agreements, that's fine. We would then compensate you for the additional hours that we run the generator during the year.
Okay. And then who's paying the gas bill? There's another question in the chat. Who's paying the gas bill for your operations on my site?
KellyComplete. You get one bill for electricity. It's a flat charge per kilowatt hour, and we handle the natural gas bills for the generator. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So for your generator under the KellyComplete program, it's a separate utility meter, gas meter, separate account from mine for the rest of my site, correct?
In general, yes. Or what we can do is just sub-meter it, and then we pay you for the natural gas that we consumed. We prefer a separate meter, separate account, but it doesn't always have to work that way. But the most important thing is we pay for the natural gas.
Perfect, thank you.
So I want to give a couple of examples because, there are all kinds of different things out there. So you currently own a natural gas generator. You want to be green and you want to save money. You can just subscribe to KellyComplete. No long-term commitment. We will take care of managing the generator in order to reduce your costs. We'll supply the green energy for you. And then again, if you kept this service and maintenance agreement, we'll compensate you for that extra runtime. You own a natural gas generator. You want to be green, you want to save some money, but even better, you'd love to put some cash in your pocket. Now, I mean, I love I love backup generators. I love Kelly and everything else. But from the perspective of a customer, it's really not that useful an asset. It's incredibly essential when the grid goes down, but it would be really nice to buy resiliency as a service rather than CapEx. So one of the things that we do is you subscribe and we'll buy your generator from you. Now, it depends on your run hours and all that, but if you've got a natural gas generator and you'd like to put some money in your pocket, we'll buy your generator, we'll make you green, and you will still save money on your monthly electricity bill. So this is a great program, literally to put money in your pocket. You need a generator. Just sign up. We'll install the right generator for your operation. So if the grid goes down, you keep running. And we say keep running, we mean keep running 100% of your operation. This isn't, we're going to do your lights and things. This is 100% that you can ride out whatever disruption there may be. We'll save you money, all at no upfront cost. So I'm going to step back and say, all right, let's say you were paying 10 cents a kilowatt hour. You need a backup generator. We can come in, we'll provide the backup generator, we'll install it, we'll manage it, we pay for the gas, we keep you resilient, we do all those things. You put up no money, and your electricity price, rather than being 10 cents, is maybe 9.5 cents or 9 cents. You literally save money and get resiliency as a service. And lastly, you want to replace a diesel generator with something better. You're expanding, diesel is dirty, it's old, just subscribe. We'll give you money for your current diesel generator, and then we'll install the right natural gas generator, make you green, make you resilient, and still save you money. You agree though, in both the case, if we're putting a new generator in, you will agree to purchase all your green electricity for us for a longer period of time. If you own your own generator and you want to keep it and maintain it, then there is no long-term agreement. Just sign up and it's a year-to-year basis. If you want us to have, if you want resiliency as a service, where we're putting the generator in on our dollar, then you agree to buy your electricity from us for a longer period of time. And that depends on just how much you want to save. It could be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, but you will always get 100% green energy, and you'll always get it at less than what you would be buying from the grid.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
Thank you for going through these different scenarios, because sometimes people think it's just about a new generator, but it's pretty cool to learn you can do this with your existing generator. I want to ask, we have another chat question. Actually, two people asked essentially the same question right at the same time. So maybe others are thinking about this as well. So if you have a site, but that doesn't have natural gas coming to it today, and you've studied it and it's pretty expensive to get the gas there, how would that work? And I think, I'll try to answer it, and then you jump in, please, as well. What we'll do is analyze, we'll work directly with the gas utility serving the area of your facility to see what the cost would be. Some utility, you may have already done this, but in some cases you might not have. So we'll work with the utility to understand what the costs would be. Some utilities may be very interested in helping to bring gas to the site because they want to sell more gas. Others say, yeah, right, well, it's going to cost you $1 million to bring gas to your site. So we'll do that research for you. We'll analyze how that impacts the overall cash flow. It's an added cost to the project, but if it's not too bad expensive wise, we're spreading it over the term of the power purchase agreement, it may still work. So matter of fact, we were looking at 2 sites just yesterday. Neither has gas to their site. They both have gas nearby. So we're going through that analysis now. Dave, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, so as great as KellyComplete is, it can't be perfect, okay? If you don't have natural gas on site and it's too expensive to literally get it there, I'm sorry, we can't help you. Now, that being said, natural gas on site is a little bit of a narrow thing. It may not be at your building, but it might be out in the street. It's really not that expensive. If the gas is nearby to run a line to you, it really is quite reasonable. So if the gas is in the street, that can work. We've done it many, many times. If you're in the middle of nowhere and it's a couple miles away, then it's not going to work. However, if you're in a, let's say, like an industrial park that doesn't have gas, then neighbors become important. And many times, if we could get enough neighbors to essentially agree that they want to move to gas, get a natural gas generator, maybe use gas for their, with their boilers and things like that, many times the gas company will extend the line at no charge just to get, again, as Mark was mentioning, additional customers. So should I do this? Or better yet, why should I do this? This is just a statistic I got just the other day. 92% of businesses have experienced an energy-related failure in the past 12 months. Trends are showing an increase in heavy downpours and flooding. When I always look for, who's got the best data out there, it's insurance companies, because they're the ones that have to pay out when these things happen. Insurance companies are paying 7 times more now for severe thunderstorm damage than they were in the in the 1990s and 2000. 7 times more. We have seen the frequency and duration of grid outages double over the past 5 years. It's getting fairly substantial. And you know what? It's Tuesday today, and we got a nor'easterner coming. I don't know if we're going in this area to get snow, but New England's going to get hammered. And just, people may remember Superstorm Sandy. Some of the locations in Superstorm Sandy, businesses were out of power for as much as 32 consecutive days. 32. So it is an important thing. Climate change and weather change is happening. 78% of power outages are not generator outages. They're downed transmission and distribution lines. Trees fall on them. Again, these extreme weather events. As you can see in this chart, this is from 1980 out to 2018. The green is severe weather or severe storms. Notice how it was minor down in the 80s and 90s and how it is now dominating ever since then. So you've got to protect yourself. You already are, and you're with the best. With Kelly, we're trying to make it even better by making you green and saving you money. Is it expensive to go down? This is a statistic that came from one of the, as I said, most of the insurance guys. If you're a manufacturing company, being down, so I have 16 hours, which for me is 2 shifts, okay? 2 shifts. When I was talking about that plastic company, I said each down was about $40,000. Here, for a large, this is a medium-sized manufacturing, it could be as much as $350,000. And a lot depends on what the manufacturing process is. If it's a continuous, like oil refining, or has extremely expensive, machine tools that if they just drop out, break things. But even just commercial buildings, non-manufacturing, a couple of hours, a couple of shifts down could be easily $100,000 or more. So again, you've all taken the right step in being resilient. We just want to help you to take the next step and to be green and actually save money. Okay, does anybody else do this? No. KellyComplete was developed by Kelly for Kelly customers. Kelly is committed to powering our customers through whatever life brings. And we want to make sure that you're getting the best, most resilient, and most affordable power possible. So there are other firms that'll source you green energy. You probably get those calls all the time, and they'll call you up and say, hey, we can make you 100% green. Yeah, but then you got to find it, you got to manage it, you got to deal with the utility, you got to deal then with the complexity of the bill, because you're buying energy from one place, but your distribution charges are coming from another place, and your transmission charges, it becomes very complicated. Other firms will give you money to use your generator for capacity payments and demand response. But what they're going to do is they're going to send you a text, or they're going to send you an email when they need you to turn it on. And they don't take over service and maintenance. They're going to give you a few $1,000s a year, because what they're going to do is just bid that generator into the grid and say, hey, I've got this stuff available for you. But it still comes down to you having to change the way you operate day to day. I'm sure you don't want to be walking around waiting for a text to come and go, oh, I got to go turn the generator on, or something like that. We take care of all of it. Those firms will tell you how to run your operation. They'll tell you how to turn on or turn off devices when prices are high and everything else. That's not your business. Your business is to do what you do best. You're not an energy company. You're not a utility. Let us handle that for you. KellyComplete makes it simple. We provide the best value. And most importantly, you know and trust us. We're always on. We're always green. We always save, because power matters and because Kelly cares. Thank you. Mark, do we have any other questions?
I don't have any others in the chat box presently, but some folks might want to type some in as we're closing out here. Thinking back to the last question about having a diesel gen and you want to convert to natural gas. We mentioned earlier, Dave mentioned the opportunity to purchase your existing diesel generator, and maybe the funds from purchasing the diesel generator could be used by the customer to pay the utility to bring gas to the site. So there may be some innovative ways to help fund that natural gas connection. If it's feeling too expensive, we might be able to. So each case will be analyzed. Like Dave said, it's not going to work for everybody.
Just talk to us. There's no obligation, doesn't cost you anything. We are committed to your customer satisfaction, and we will help in any way that we possibly can. So please don't be silent. Just pick up the phone, call Mark, call myself, or talk to your Kelly representative, and we're happy to do what we can.
Okay.
think we got
I
another.
do have one more question just popped in, Dave. It says, how does this tie in with the electrical service versus our existing service? So I assume that means we have existing service from the utility. How does this impact that existing service from the utility?
So we operate in what's called the deregulated markets. So we're able to go and acquire the renewable energy, and we essentially transfer that across the utilities wires to your load. It doesn't change your service at all. It just really changes where your energy is coming from. And what I mean by that is the wires are the same. If you got transformers, the same. Nothing changes with regard to you and the utility, except that the energy is coming from renewable sources, and we're managing the cost exposure of those utility charges like demand charges and peak charges and capacity charges. We're eliminating all those for you by using that generator to provide the grid with what it wants.
So essentially, if you're in a power outage, though, I'm not connected to the grid anymore. So now I'm islanded with your on-site generator running full time, correct?
That's correct. And if the grid is up, you're connected to the grid all the time. Even when the grid needs services, again, the grid says, oh, it's a super hot day, humid, everybody's turning the air conditioner on, we're under strain. Some cases, like the wires are getting too hot, we would like some people to take some load off the grid. We will respond, but we never take, if the grid is up, we never take you off the grid. So we can keep you on the grid completely synchronized. Let's use an example. You got a 1 megawatt load, we'll generate 900 kilowatts and leave 100 kilowatts synchronized to the grid at all times. That way, you never see anything. Lights don't flicker. If the generator were to hiccup, the grid would pick up immediately. And if the grid goes down, we pick up immediately. So again, you're never disconnected from the grid when the grid is operating. If the grid is down, then you island and you operate independently. And then when the grid comes back up, the system will then connect to the grid synchronized. And once it is synchronized its load to the grid, then the generators will drop off. I think we got another question pop up, Mark.
Yeah, you got a couple questions in a similar fashion. So now they're drilling in about technology to enable this to happen. How do you run in parallel with my existing service? What would it take to install? Are you installing bidirectional metering or any other special switchgear? So we're talking about paralleling switchgear, things like that.
Correct. And that's actually better for I'm the software guy, right? That's probably better for the Kelly switching people. But if it's a brand new installation, we install the requisite switchgear necessary for synchronized parallel operation with the grid. If you have a generator, you have a natural gas generator, but you've only ever used it for backup, meaning that you have essentially the grid goes down, then you come up and you can never run synchronized with the grid. We would come in and replace that switch with an automatic synchronized parallel transfer switch. There's a little bit of charge to that, but we don't charge you. It would just reduce your savings. So rather, when I use the example, from 10 cents to 9 cents, maybe it's going to go from 10 cents, to 9.2 or something like that to compensate for the additional hardware needed. Mark, you may want to comment on that because you're more of an expert in those switching things than I am.
Yeah, I mean, so depending on the application, it depends on, we went through 4 different scenarios earlier, but sometimes we look at sites and we're removing an existing generator and replacing it with a continuous power engine. That's going to require different switchgear. And then if we're paralleling with the utility, there's additional technology. So we design and it's sort of a custom engineering, procurement, construction process, turnkey that we handle for you. We work with your electrical folks on site at your facility. If you have a third-party electrical contractor who's very familiar with your site, or engineering firm, we would be happy to work with them as well, just to make sure we're meeting all of your needs on site. But any of these requirements are at our cost. A follow-on question just popped in around soft transfer. So depending on the criticality of the customer, this is really an important question. So again, I mentioned we were visiting a couple sites yesterday. Their sites can handle being down for a bit, for a few hours based on their operation. It's mostly environment control that they're concerned with. So the things that can't be down during that time are life safety related items. So depending on what needs to be on around soft transfer, we may, Kelly's got one of the largest fleets of mobile generators on the East Coast. During the transfer over, we probably would bring over a mobile generator, diesel generator, to run us through, unless the customer already had a generator. So if the customer has an existing generator that's staying, then maybe we run that generator during the switchover. So it really depends. But yes, we're going to discuss with the client, the building owner, what their requirements are for power. Can they handle an outage or not? If so, for what duration, et cetera. And we'll make whatever requirements are needed to make sure the customer's operations are not negatively impacted.
Yeah, natural gas generators come up very, very quickly. You wouldn't be down for long. However, if there are some critical systems that can't go down at all, then we would put in a ride through. That may be like a UPS, right? So your control systems or your computer system, you can't have those go down. So you put in a UPS on those critical loads that ride through for 3, 4, and 5 minutes while the generator starts up and gets fully up to speed and things like that. So again, there's solutions to everything. Let us know what is important, and we'll architect and engineer the right solution for you. Mark, you mentioned something, it just dawned on me when you said sort of continuous power. One of the questions people many times ask is, hey, we're really focused on efficiency. Would CHP, combined heat and power, be a good thing? How does KellyComplete work with combined heat and power? Again, very application specific. KellyComplete will work in a CHP mode. And the reason is that CHP is never a perfect fit, right? You're either going to have excess thermal, you're going to have excess electricity or something. With KellyComplete, we can more perfectly balance the CHP with the economics to essentially save you the most money. So if you were considering CHP, if you do have a nice heat load or something, Mark happens to be a CHP expert, please discuss with him. But KellyComplete is applicable to CHP.
That's a good point, Dave, because Kelly is a distributor of standby and backup generators, as well as engines that can run continuously or as needed, more than a standby generator. We also are a distributor and builder on turnkey basis of combined heat and power, combined cooling heat and power solutions. So we can marry all of these things together into a KellyComplete offering, or at least we're willing to certainly analyze it and see if it makes sense for everyone. But certainly Dave's point is well taken. A lot of times, we're trying to make this offering very simple for the building owner, like Dave said right at the beginning. You don't know we're there. We're doing it all in the background. We've got very sophisticated software. One of the things when customers decide they want to go with CHP, it becomes a much more complicated piece of technology on their campus or on their facility. With our software running it, now that the complication goes away, we're handling all the maintenance, factory certified technicians, and we're optimizing the CHP for the facility. So plus we're helping with the investment, right? So when you talk, CHP is often sold on an ROI basis. It's a savings measure that also enhances power reliability and resilience. We really can help with the performance of CHP more than just about anybody because of this KellyComplete offering. So anybody that's out there thinking about CHP or hasn't moved forward with it because they're nervous about how complicated it is, this really takes away all those concerns, or should, and we can help you, walk you through to make you feel more comfortable about that. So thanks for bringing that up, Dave. Appreciate that. I'm not seeing some people on the soft transfer.
Yeah.
One more comment here. They want to avoid adding a UPS to every piece of equipment, which is a fair point.
Right,
So,
and that's really then a question of which pieces of equipment, what can ride through, what can't ride through. So for manufacturers, typically control systems, we put on a UPS. If there's extremely expensive, machine tools and things that if they go down, you have a hiccup, you break tooling and things, you put those on. But there's a lot of heavy loads that can go down for a minute or two, dryers, heaters, a whole variety of things. So again, like I said, just discuss it with us, and we can always find a solution. You're never sure exactly how much you might save because of that complexity of the solution. But again, the focus here is if you are you need a soft transfer, just work with us and we'll make sure we give you the right thing.
yeah,
Sorry?
I just was real quick. Interestingly, one of the facilities we visited yesterday had what we refer to as a docking station or a quick connect for a mobile generator. So the critical loads in the facility are connected to this circuit. And if there's an emergency, a mobile generator can pull up and plug right in and turn on. And so we can install, if that's how you want to do it, we can install something like that. A quick connect sort of docking station for a mobile generator, which would then be a permanent benefit to the facility in emergencies, to help with this ride through. And we can build that into our scope of work as well if you don't want to do a UPS solution.
I tried to keep this to 30 minutes and I failed. So I want to.
So one more question just popped, Dave. I know you're
Yeah.
trying to keep it to the end. So, and the next slide, you can put up the next slide. I think it has my contact info.
Okay.
But I'm going to ask this question, but give people time to, is there another slide? There you go. All right. So this way people can see my contact info if they have more questions after this. One last question here is, if the grid needs support, but there isn't a power outage, would there be any transfer of power at the site? If not, there may not need to be a need for a UPS. So what are your thoughts on that, Dave?
So the only reason you would need a UPS is if the grid is going down, or goes down, right? So if the grid needs support because of, it's a hot day and everything else, but there isn't a power outage, would there be any transfer of power to the site? Yes, there would be transfer of power to the site, because we always stay connected to the grid if the grid is up. We'll take 90% of your load off the grid, put that on the generator, leave that other 10% on the grid to remain completely synchronized. But since everything is running, both the grid and the generator, there's no need for the UPS. If the grid were to go down during that period of time, the generator is already up and essentially is able to pick up that additional 10% load. If the grid drops out, you wouldn't need a UPS. In the case where you need a UPS is we're not running because the grid doesn't need support, and the grid just fails, okay? Truck hits transmission line and the power just goes out, boom. We will come up, but it could be a minute or two before we come up. If you have critical loads that you can't go down, that's when you need the UPS.
Okay. All right, great. So I think we're going to leave it here. Everyone's got my contact information. If they want to continue the conversation, or as Dave said, reach out to your key contact here at Kelly Generator. We want to thank you for attending today. And we will have a recording of this available. If anybody wants a copy of this recording, please reach out to us. Or the slides, yep, reach out to us. We'll be happy to send those over. And I think that's it for today. So thanks for everyone for joining. Thank you, Dave, for walking us through the slides. And we hope everyone has a great rest of the week. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.